views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
It was one of the worst American hurricanes in history that made Category 5 landfall, the aftermath leaving the small island of Puerto Rico in catastrophic ruins. But with the Bronx, home of the largest Puerto Rican population outside of Puerto Rico, people from our area answered the call to get help to those affected. I'll talk to a group of pastors who made their way to one of the hardest hit places and hear what they experienced. Plus, they're members of the International First Responders. We'll hear from them and the work they're doing in areas where tragedy strikes. That's coming up on this edition of Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective which shines a light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let 'em know.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime, and of course, we invite you to stay connected to us every week here on the show. Now, how you can get connected to us, of course, every week you watch us live here on BronxNet's Channel 67. Also, you can connect to us on the World Wide Web at bronxnet.org, and also hit us up on our public, or I should say, social networking sites. And then you can get us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll see about the show, upcoming episodes about the show, letting you know what's happening. Stay connected to us. That's what we want to do here on Perspectives. Coming up, as we said at the outset of the show, it is the most devastating hurricane to hit in America. That which goes to Puerto Rico, Hurricane Irma, I should say Maria, as well as Irma's, had a tremendous effect. If you look around all across the United States, there's a lot of things that are going on. You talk about Houston, you talk about Las Vegas, you talk about Louisiana, but when you talk about Puerto Rico, still to this day, many without power, many without basic resources. And these three gentlemen here who are joining me in studio today were part of a convoy of people who went out to provide relief and bring help to those who are out there. I'm joined by William Devlin, Bill Devlin, who's also Reverend Bill Devlin, pastor of and president of Redeem International, a international humanitarian group that does work in war zones. He's also a member of the board of directors of the International First Responders. He's also the co-pastor of Infinity Bible Church, a registered nurse working on his doctorate, a husband to Nancy of 38 years, and the father of 5 children and 6 grandchildren. He joins me along with Councilman Fernando Cabrera, who represents the 14th District of the Bronx. The councilman is also the co-chair of the Gun Violence Task Force and also serves as senior pastor of New Life Outreach International here in the Bronx. And then we're also joined by Pastor Paco Rodriguez, pastor of the City Life Church in Tampa, Florida, who is also a member of the International First Responders. And we welcome you all to the show. And thank you, most of all, for being here and also for the great work that you guys are doing. And I'll start off, first of all, with Councilman Cabrera, Pastor Cabrera, on this. When you go back to Puerto Rico and you saw Puerto Rico, I know we've talked about it before. Give us your take on the situation right now. Of course, we show from one media perspective what's happening, but you guys had an opportunity to see a totally different perspective.
Well, Daren, thank you for having us in your show. It's always a joy to be here, but this is really a sad situation. We went to the most devastated area of Puerto Rico. We went to the mountains of Jayuya and Utuado, ironically where my mom's side of the family came from. But that area has been devastated. I mean, we saw landslides, we saw homes that were demolished, and the worst part of that piece is that they're living there. There's people still living in devastated homes. We saw churches demolished. We saw people who had not received any help whatsoever until we got there and brought the supplies. We saw people who literally needed food and they needed water. Water is gold in Puerto Rico right now. There is no electricity in this area. There is no means of communication except one place there. And you have to go like 3,000 feet high. Very scary place. I've been in a lot of scary places, but to make one phone call was a task, but most people don't have access to that. So a lot of them they're disconnected with what's happening in the rest of the island. They're not being able to get the help. That's why we went. We went like a special op unit to be able to go and bring the relief that was so needed.
We're seeing some pictures right here, and Pastor Devlin, share with us a little bit about this too, you know?
Yeah, well, you can see we're walking down the street. Many of the roads were impassable. You can also see the landslides there. And homes, Daren, just completely destroyed, and people have nowhere to go. They haven't had food for 3 weeks. All the grocery stores and supermarkets are closed. Here was a bridge that was washed out, over 200 bridges washed out throughout Puerto Rico. 66 of the bridges that were washed out are in this province we worked in. And this guy, in order to get to his house, took some telephone poles that were snapped in half, which was many, thousands, and built a little bridge because of his normal bridge had been completely washed out. So the total devastation in this area, and it was just very, very sad. But we went there to help the people with just 4 pastors. There's another pastor on the board of directors of the International First Responders that's not here, Pastor Enyo Zaragoza. He was there, Dover, Delaware. We all gathered together at JFK, and bang, we just went right down to Puerto Rico, and with help, and of course with the love of God as well.
Yeah, Pastor Rodriguez, share a little bit about it. You're out of Tampa, Florida. Thank you for coming and sharing with us
Thank
here in
you,
the Bronx. And as we're here, talk to us a little bit about being on that plane, and when you got off the plane, was it as bad as you expected?
Yes, it was really bad, and it was really hard for me because I grew up in the island, and to see the island the way it is right now, you know, basically you can see every place you go to the island, the situation of the electric pole in the floor, house completely gone, and how people go out trying to reach water, food, whatever, you know, trying to survive. You know, the situation is really hard in Puerto Rico right now. So it was, you know, emotional for me when I get out from the airplane and see the island the way it was.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what you did too. You also each of you got the opportunity through the airlines to bring 100 pounds of supplies yourself. So share with us a little bit about that.
So we thank United Airlines. They allowed us to bring 100 pounds each worth of supplies. So we had 1,200 pounds, but I have to be honest with you there. When I got there and we delivered that to Jayuya, my heart just broke because I felt that we could do so much more. And we had a super blessing through the networks that were established. Almost felt, if I may, a supernatural moment. Doors began to open. We were able to purchase water that was in scarcity. We were able to get food, to get thousands and thousands of pounds. And on top of that, to have the means to deliver that with trucks. So we were able to get them rice, beans, coffee, baby food, Pampers.
And we're seeing what here?
Yeah, so right here, that was in the way over there. We saw the military, but I have to be honest with you, the military, they're doing their job. We're so proud of our boys out there, but they had not reached the area that we went to. Mm-hmm. And so it's not an easy area to get to.
So they hadn't got to the mountain yet, is what you're saying?
So they had not gotten it. So here we're loading up in just one of the many vehicles that we have. We also have trucks. Even the supermarket owner, there's only one supermarket open in Jayuya for 18,000 people. They were so helpful. I mean, they were our heroes. So we were able to get, literally, we serve enough for thousands of people in that area. It's amazing what could happen if we just move with compassion and said, you know, we want to make a difference.
How's it getting to the mountain part? Because obviously, you know, a lot of focus is on the city and
Right.
a lot of controversy surrounding just the city because people say that's the place where most people deposit. But yet and still, there's a lot of people out there in the mountains. How were you able to get to the mountains, and what was that experience like traveling out there?
Well, Pastor Paco actually had a group of colleagues in Utuado that we connected with, and one woman owned a business, roasting coffee plantation. She shut down her entire operations, and her chief of operations went out with us. And then the owner of the supermarket, his 3 grandsons came with us. So we had 3 cars and a caravan bringing food to these hundreds of families that we ministered to, food bags. And then we also had a police escort, met with the chief of police. So the roads were cleared by the time we got there, but many landslides, a lot of the roads had been washed out. And we just had these vehicles. And honestly, Daren, we went by faith. We went totally by faith.
Right. And so as you're seeing these pictures right here, we're taking a look. Go back to the pictures, please, if you can, to my people. So you see the pictures here. I'm assuming that what happens at nightfall?
Well, it's very dangerous.
You
I have
stay
to
off the
tell
road.
you, there's no light, and this is one of the good roads.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, a couple of times our vehicles got, you know, we have one vehicle that got stuck, and I'm talking about SUVs getting stuck. So this is one of the good roads, but it's very tight. You see right there, the landslide took place. And, no guardrail. At night is very, very dangerous. As a matter of fact, to make a phone call, we went a very steep mountain, worse than this, to make a phone call. But we needed to do it in order to get, you know, the word out and to get some help. But it's very, very dangerous out there. So dangerous that they even allowed me to drive to make that phone call. The local said, "We'll go with you," but you know, it was that dangerous, and people are isolated. You see, what happens is 60 bridges went down in Jayuya alone. It used to take an hour and 20 minutes to get there. Now it took us almost 3.5 hours. When they came out of there, it took them 4 hours to meet with some of the governor's people, some of the grassroots people.
Yeah, we're seeing some pictures right now of the devastation.
Yeah, we saw houses demolished. We saw people living in there. You see, it just total devastation in some of these homes. And these are the wooden homes. And usually the wooden homes are people of lower socioeconomic status. We met one lady that her house has been destroyed not once but twice. And she was just in tears. I broke my heart. I don't think there was a day that I didn't cry, man. I broke down. I remember in the road we had an SOS. They had an SOS. Look at this home. This home in particular was a lady, if I recall right, we had a lady that we found, and she lost, that's the house.
Yeah,
she lost, she was there during the hurricane, and she's living below, right there in the basement in one room. This is her home now, and she has no place to go. Her car broke down the day after, man, when it rains, it pours. We were able to give her a substantial amount of money so she could fix it. But it's not unusual to see this in top of the mountains of Jayuya.
Wow. Yeah. And so this is normally about an hour and 20 minutes, you say, to get there, but it takes about 4 hours.
Like 3 hours.
All right, cool. Pastor Paco, I'm going to come back to you after the break. Going to take a quick break, continue our conversation with the international first responders who are here talking about the work that's going on in bringing relief to Puerto Rico.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Continuing our conversation with what's going on in Puerto Rico, glad to have this esteemed group of people sharing with us, Pastor Devlin, Pastor Rodriguez, Pastor Cabrera, part of the international first responders who traveled to the mountain part of Puerto Rico to give people an idea as to what is exactly going on. Now, I want to let you know, when you talk about how bad it is, I was asking in between the break about the water distribution. And Pastor Paco, you said what?
Right now, the situation in Puerto Rico, family, when trying to get some water, only get 2 little bottles. How about you have a family, 4 kids, 5 kids, how you going to support your family with only 2 little bottles? So
we're not talking cases, we're talking bottles.
2 little bottles, 2 little bottles. The situation with water in Puerto Rico, water is like gold right now. And also, we're talking about the situation with the water, you take a shower, start getting bad with the dirty water. And that's something, concern us, because that problem can get big in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. One of the big situations that most New Yorkers do not know about, and we confront this with the water department there, people that we know that work there, is that the water that is getting to some of the homes is being pumped by generators. These generators were only meant to be there temporarily. They were to be used for emergency purposes only. We've been told they're not going to last very long. I wouldn't be surprised if next week or the week after they begin to start shutting down. That means even in the large section of San Juan and Aguadilla and Ponce, where you have the more affluent population, larger part of the population, that the system is going to begin to collapse again. And so this is we're in a situation that is very fragile over there, and they need almost help. We also need FEMA to show up in these regions, because we saw homes were decimated, like we saw in the picture. The people were living there and they didn't have no tarps, those blue tarps. Right. They only brought 1,000 for the entire island. And it's been, when we got there, it was day 23, and to that day, with the exception of the ones that they had there before, 1,000, they had not brought any new ones. So we're calling upon FEMA to show up, bring these tarps. People are living under these conditions.
Pastor Bill, you were telling a little about the water situation, about when you guys arrived. That it wasn't about what you saw, but it was about what you smelled.
Yes, the water, and could be an outbreak of typhoid or cholera, because the sewage treatment plants overflowed because they received about 40 inches of rain, and they weren't operating because the electricity was gone, the generators hadn't kicked in yet. And so the bad water was mixing with the good water, and that's what was coming out of the spigot. And so the government has actually said, you got to boil the water, or you have to only use bottled water for your cooking or brushing your teeth. So it's a real catastrophe. When we arrived there, the electrical grid was servicing 14% of the entire island. Imagine that. Only 14 out of 100 people were actually receiving electricity. We were there 6 days. When we left, the electricity grid, because a lot of it's being run by generator, had actually dropped to about 4%. So now the government is saying we hope to have electricity restored by December of this year, 2017. But we saw that it's impossible. It's probably going to be, particularly where we were, in Jayuya and also in Utuado, they're not going to have electricity for perhaps until the summer of 2018, because not only are the poles down, but just about every tree had fallen on the power lines. And so you have power lines all over in these mountainous areas. It's going to take them months, not days or weeks to repair.
Yep.
Pastor, and so for you, you know, you had a team of people down there that were able to assist. And you talked about being out there. And for those of you who don't know, Pastor Rodriguez is from Tampa, is Pastor City Life in Tampa, Florida. Talk to us about just your reaction to all that's been going on. We've heard the president even say, you know, we need to get FEMA and other things out of there. They can't stay there forever. But what would you say to people who don't know?
Right now, when you go to the island and you see the need, and you see how people living, you know, you can see in the picture you show up, you know, it was no roof, no windows, also no water, no food. People are living in that condition right now. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about kid in the street with no shoes, no clothes, because their house, it was completely gone with the hurricane. And to see that, just to see that, you live, you know, and you know you need to go back and help this family. You need to put things together to go back, because things is gonna get worse. And we're talking about take FEMA out, take the military service out, you know, from the island. It's gonna make the situation even worse what it is right now. Yeah.
What about the people? Because as we talk about the people of Puerto Rico, obviously a lot of unrest, given the fact that supplies are limited. When you're only getting 2 bottles of water for a family. I'm not even talking, I mean, 2 bottles of water, and you don't know when your next water's coming.
So, you know, we encounter a situation ourselves where we were staying in Carolina. We were told one night when we came back from the mountain that to be careful, because the night before somebody came with a gun, broke into a house, stole the generator, you know, put everybody at gunpoint. So we went home, we went to sleep. 1 o'clock in the morning, we started hearing the gunshots. And I'm not, Darren, I've been in the middle of gunshot episodes, but I tell you, I never heard so many bullets. And the police showed up. At one point, I thought I heard that story, I thought, are they gonna come in here, type of thing, and in the place that we were staying. You know, people get desperate, and when they get desperate, sometimes they do desperate situations. But I have to tell you too, to the Puerto Rican people, I want people to know this, that they have done everything within their own power, even with all the limitations. All the roads that you saw getting fixed there, that was not the government, that was their own people. They brought their own trucks. The community came out and started cleaning the roads themselves. So they have done everything they can within their own power. But there comes a point that they need the reinforcements, you know, and I had to say, when people said they're Americans too, I take that too out of the way. They're Americans.
Right.
And this is not what happened in Houston, and this is not what happened in Florida, because it's an island. It's not like you could send trucks. So it's a very difficult situation, and this is why it requires a higher level intervention by the military and by FEMA.
And you guys are going back?
Yes.
We're going back.
So when are you going back?
In another couple of weeks. And, you know, we're very grateful. What we saw, Darren, was the Puerto Rican people are resilient. They're not sitting around waiting for help. They're out there clearing the roads. They're out there helping their neighbors. Many of the homes that were completely destroyed, people went to their neighbor's house. They were welcomed in with open arms. So Puerto Ricans are very relational people. That's what we saw. And we not only went there to help practically, but as pastors, we also went there with spiritual help and the love of God. So we're going to go back in 2 weeks with generators, more water filtration systems that are $40 each, very easy to use. And they take out all the microbes and all the bad water, and they give fresh water. So we're going down with practical help as a team.
To be specific, we're going to get there October the 30th. We're going to stay there for an entire week to bring these resources that they have there. We have a cargo ship that's bringing the generators, the water filters, because one of those water filters alone can produce 100,000 gallons of water. So we could give one to, and that leader in that community will take care of everybody else, and we could spread it all around and take care of all the people in that specific area. And we didn't just go to Jayuya and Utuado. We went to Fajardo with the eye of the storm went. We went to all the areas, and we even saw family. I mean, Paco.
Yes, we have the opportunity to stop in my town. My grandma, she's 97 years old. And I was talking to my grandma and I was asking, you know, right now, you know, with the situation with the water, how you get water. And basically she explained me, she put a bucket outside, you know, like a 50-gallon bucket, and she leave it, you know, outside, and when it's rain, she can catch some water. And also she have some pipe running to the roof, and whatever water she can get from the roof, from the rain, she put it in the bucket, and that's the water she used to clean the house and take a shower. So you can see the situation in Puerto Rico with the water is really big. You know, I believe this situation is getting worse and worse and worse.
And we left a water filter with her son, who's Pastor Paco's uncle, is there to watch over her, and he was so happy, you know. But not only are they going to help themselves, it's going to bring the community together to help one another. And this is why we need to get back. Usually when there's emergencies, look, I deal with Haiti, I deal with Katrina, Sandy over here, we ran out of Kingsbridge Armory, 24-day operation. People get very excited about helping in the first week or maybe the second week. Then after that, you know, they begin to lose their passion. This is one of those unusual situations that is going to require our consistent intervention. And this is why I believe it's going to bring the best out of us New Yorkers and Americans.
Yeah, and what we saw as well, when we came up with enough food to feed a family for 10 days, a lot of tears, Daren, a lot of tears. And the Puerto Rican people who had been without anything for 3 weeks, and we bring in a food basket with water filtration, with rice, with beans, with some meat. They just wept and fell into our arms, and we prayed for them, and they said, we were so grateful. You're the first ones that have come. And so this is something we pulled together as international first responders, and it was a great idea and a great joy to be down there to help.
Well, certainly I want to thank both of you for, all three of you, I should say, for coming and joining us and sharing with us and giving us a little firsthand response. A firsthand look, I should say, what's going on in Puerto Rico. Pastor Bill Devlin, Pastor Paco Rodriguez out of City Life Church in Tampa, Florida. Pastor Fernando Cabrera, who's also our City Councilman, Council District 14. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And certainly we'll bring you more information. As they bring us more video, we will bring it back to you and bring you up to speed so that way you can see firsthand the devastation in Puerto Rico. For all of us here on the Center Perspectives, I'm Daren Jaime saying, whatever we can do, let's do. Keep your perspective and share your perspective. It just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care.
Make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference in someone's life. Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let them know.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You made your house a reality. Homeschooling yourself on loans, color-coding listings, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. If you can ace house hunting, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.